it hit me at that day that I'm actually trying to represent a brand which has become an aspirational brand for a lot of people in the powder coating industry. The German consulate in India told us that even for the visa, we don't have a category for technology transfer from India to Germany. And this was something that again gives a very strong idea of what the brand held for not just India but for the powder coating industry as a whole. We have helped the Prime Minister's office securely store their documents for many years now. So my introduction to Statfield as a brand was a fantastic experience. Probably a year or two into my since I started working, we had a dealer program in Nashik, and the program went pretty well. We talked a lot about the equipment, we talked about what dealers expect to do, so on and so forth. And then one of the dealer had come along with a few of his customers. I mean, the program ended with all dealers actually getting their customers also, a couple of customers with them. And then one of those guys came up to me and said, it was in Marathi of course, but he said, one day I'll certainly buy a Statfield equipment. It hit me at that day that I'm actually trying to represent a brand which has become an aspirational brand for a lot of people in the powder coating industry. And this has stuck with me, and all through that and since then we have been trying to maintain this brand image of an aspirational brand, quite similar to Apple. People still say that if and when I'll be able to afford a good equipment, I'll come to Statfield. Then I'll have to probably stay with a local brand. Besides this experience of actual brand value hitting me, there are other couple of experiences about Statfield's impact on me which have stayed with me. This is somewhere in the period of 98, 99, 97, 98, and we had exhibited in an exhibition in Indonesia, and a German person had visited the stall and he had checked our equipment and he said, I would like to represent your product in Germany. We were of course very happy that someone has come up directly from Germany asking us for a distributorship. So the distributorship agreement was immediately agreed to, and the person started working on that. A few months probably down the line, we received a communication saying that a distributorship probably is not going to be enough because it is not giving us the kind of mileage because of the, unfortunately, the made in India tag having a low quality perceived value. So he was of the opinion that we should take this partnership of this arrangement to a next level. And then the discussion started about why not start manufacturing, or at least part manufacturing the unit in Germany. And by the year 99 and 2000, we are in a stage where these discussions were pretty advanced stage, and we at the point where we actually wanted to sign the agreement and everything, we checked with the authorities, and the German consulate in India told us that even for the visa, we don't have a category for technology transfer from India to Germany. And this was something that again gives a very strong idea of what the brand held for not just India but for the powder coating industry as a whole, because the German partner wanted an Indian company's technology so that he could sell it, manufacture it in Germany and sell it in Germany. And this whole episode of a one of its kind joint venture where technology comes from India and manufacturing happens in Germany was actually represented in the German local newspaper in eastern side. We were pretty close to Berlin at that point of time, and it was still just post the unification. So a lot of people in the eastern side of Germany still spoke Russian instead of English. So we had to get hold of a person speaking German and English and get this thing done. But the value still holds that we had a proud moment of saying that we were the only joint venture where the technology came from India, manufacturing was in Germany, and the German consulate in Mumbai did not have a visa category for that. Statfield is known to be a quality brand, and when we talk about quality, usually we consider that to be a very high tech, high quality, or something which gives a very high level of technology to it. What we also say is that fit to purpose is quality. A good example of this is usually in powder coating, the dry film thickness of any powder coated article is in the range of 60 to 80 microns. We had a specific requirement coming from a customer who used to manufacture chokes for tube lights way back when chokes were still being used, and it was an aftermarket requirement. So all the branded chokes were being coated with 50, 60, 80 micron powder thickness and were done on very high quality or at least high thickness steel. This guy was manufacturing it in Ulhasnagar with a very thin sheet of steel, and he wanted specifically 30 microns max dry film thickness on his article. The basic requirement was color dikhna chahiye. It should not look like it's bare metal. That's all. I don't care what the thickness is. No protection, no nothing. And we put a lot of effort in trying to develop our system and our conveyor speeds and coating applicator specification to an extent that we could deliver that. So there is still one, it probably is now changed because chokes are not used, but still there is one customer in Ulhasnagar who uses Statfield products for the quality that he would call quality and none of the rest of the world would. At the other end of the spectrum, we also have all automobile companies and their tier 1 suppliers, primarily two-wheeler manufacturers and their tier 1 suppliers, using Statfield products to deliver the kind of quality, the kind of gloss, the kind of protection levels that are expected for their export oriented products, where a minimum of 80 microns, a minimum of not more than 3 or 5 micron thickness variation on the about the DFT on the complete article is expected. And I can name a few hundred, I won't call it hundreds, but at least 20-30 customers using the same kind of specs, and we have very successfully delivered it. One very specific example is about a company in Qatar who wanted to have their bus bars powder coated. A bus bar has some portion of it which requires to be insulated, where they have a very high thickness of powder coating to be done on the bus bar. Now, the standard process for any kind of powder coating setup is to use a spray treatment, because I mean a spray powder coating. But in this case, the spray, once you spray, and because of the nature of electrostatic powder coating, once that one layer of powder builds up, you can't really keep on building thickness, and that's where all spray kind of applications were failing. They were not being able to get it done anywhere, and so we designed. The concept is not that new, but then we designed a specific dip type of, it's called a fluidized bed coating. As I said, the concept is not new, but we designed it for this in a fashion where the dipping of the article and the coating of the tips where insulation was required was so coordinated that with the dipping you could actually overcome the effect of the electrostatic coating repelling further powder, and we could get the required thickness, which now is being used in Qatar for all their control panels being exported to the US. So Statfield gives quality to the person who knows what quality is, and to the person who wants a certain quality, call it whatever you want for everybody else. Over our history, there have been quite a few industry segments which have been very strongly impacted by what Statfield does. The painting or powder coating requirement was very much there, but delivering it to our customers in the most efficient way, whereby they either get the, or they also get the quality and at a correct price, at a correct cost of their eventual production, was something that we have delivered on multiple industry segments. Automobile components, of course, is one of our largest customer bases. The genset canopy was another segment which we have done practically everywhere across India, and I would say around 65-70% of genset canopies being manufactured today are painted in a Intech Statfield paint shop with a Statfield gun. But a more curious case was about aluminum sections or aluminum profiles which are used for building constructions today. So we have experience of more than 100 odd customers in the Middle East, where aluminum profiles are coated with with stat-filled guns. And when our infrastructure development started to actually mimic what is happening everywhere else in the world, the requirement of aluminum profiles became very strong in India. A couple of large companies have set up their aluminum profile paint manufacturing and painting shops in India, where the requirement of a powder coating as well as a PVDF coating, which is another protective coating specifically done on outdoor applications. So both these coatings were required, and this was specifically for the aluminum profiles. So we delivered those plants. They are still being used. They're used as benchmarks for that aluminum profile industry. And from this, a smaller aluminum profile manufacturer got an idea that I may not need both, but I can probably set up a specific powder coating setup, whereby my powder coated profiles will have a qualitative edge, yet can be delivered economically to the domestic market. And we developed a specific solution for a small setup of a very not a very large volume. So all internationally these plants are done with very high conveyor speeds with high volumes, because that's where the affordability comes in. But this plant being settled in Gujarat is of a very comparatively very small volume, and we could deliver a plant fit to purpose again for their requirement of giving the quality of the powder coated profile at the required cost in the required space. And once that plant was set up, in the last 3-4 years, it has kind of created a ripple effect, where there are 8 to 10 paint shops, all ours, which have been installed. A couple of them have been repeats from the same customer, but 8 customers have set up practically exactly same copies of the first plant supplied to Gujarat. And it has had a ripple effect of having a fantastic supply of powder coated aluminum channels to the rest of India through Gujarat, instead of importing them from outside. One of the largest claims to fame for Statfield has always been application systems, both powder and liquid. But Statfield also has been delivering on a lot of other applications. We have helped the Prime Minister's office securely store their documents for many years now. There have been jewelers and gems companies which have been storing their gems securely with Statfield help. We have had BARC storing their nuclear fuel rods out of reach of unauthorized personnel with the help of Statfield. Statfield has a automated storage solutions division actively working for the last 30 odd years. We also have a metal handling division which primarily looks into overhead chain conveyors, where metal handling applications of food industry, metal handling applications of meat industry, fruit industry. We have tea leaves being carried across tea gardens on our conveyors, and from that to more regular engineering applications like automotive components being moved from place of storage to place of assembly have been done with the help of our closed track overhead chain conveyors. We also have a division which works towards air handling, which primarily gives centrifugal blowers as the main heart of the products, heart of the system, and we have been giving pressure controlled, temperature controlled, filtered air supply units to a variety of applications, starting from pharma to even assembly lines and welding lines. Statfield has had the fortune of working with the very prestigious defense segment also. Known for its technological developments, we had a query coming from ORDF in Maharashtra saying that they wanted their bombshells to be coated, powder coated with complete automation, no human interference, no human hand touching the article after coating. So we developed a metal movement system, it's a rotating system, and a sensor based coating system which delivers measured powder output to the bombshell in specified requirements, in specified volumes, and this system has been designed and manufactured only by us in India, and practically all ordnance factories today, whoever manufactures bomb shells to that spec are using our systems. Another specific system that we developed was for railways, where again with the kind of growth in volume of railway coaches, painting of railway coaches, which used to be a 100% manual operation, was required to be converted to an automated operation. The side walls of a railway coach can still be coated automatically fairly easily, matching the profile of the top of the railway coach to give a uniform coating thickness was something which was required to be designed, and matching the spray pattern of the gun and the movement of the reciprocating or the profile matching metal movement was something that was a critical challenge. We did it successfully, exhibited it in a railway exhibition, and the railway coach factory DG specifically asked us to put it up for tender whenever the next tender came up, and this business has also been pretty good since then.